Okay, let's see if this is actually going to run properly. To start over, just in case people are coming in wondering what the heck happened, Paul, just for some reason, the numbers on the upper left corner of the screen just stopped, and then people started getting really quiet. Maybe it's because I picked a bad time to stream. I don't know. But I had a feeling that something was up. And that's why I rebooted the stream, just in case. But if I'm wrong, then I don't know. But anyway, just in case you didn't get to see part 1, do I really want to re-explain the Catholic Creator Conference all over again? Because if YouTube is not letting me do this, then I don't know. Yeah, I restarted because I asked chat if stream was working, and I didn't hear anything. So I was wondering, like, did the stream crash? Or is my internet bad? And since no one was answering, I figured it must have crashed. So you tell me, Kevin, how was it running before I restarted it? Because, yeah, it was just stuck at, like, one person for the longest time. Oh, that's what happened. Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that kind of threw me off. Okay. Yeah, I still got to get used to the idea of people lurking. Usually, like, I know that when I'm with more popular streamers, usually if I'm like the only one in the stream, I'll usually say like, "Hey, I got to go do this," or "I'll be right back." With like ones that get like in the 15s and 20 views, sometimes I'm like, "Yeah, you're not going to miss me." If it's a collab, they're definitely not going to miss me. But yeah, I'll keep that in mind for the future, that some people are lurk. Oh, Kevin, I wanted to ask you a question. So I've been trying to figure out the optimal time to stream, and I have not gotten any good answers, honestly. The only reason I've been doing this time frame is because it seems like that's when most of the regulars show up. But those regulars haven't given me enough information to tell if like that's what they like, or if they just happen to be in the right place at the right time. Like, usually when I tell people like, "Oh, it's between 5 to 7 EST," I just get, "Okay." I don't get a, "Oh man, that stinks, Paul, I really wanted to go to your stream," or any kind of extreme reactions like that. So I'm just really hoping that I can be at the best time for the most people. Because you know me by now. If there's one thing I hate, it's talking to myself too much. Even the sound of my own voice drains me, as you probably notice when I have long periods of silence. Well, at least I haven't drank that much water yet, so that's good. But, I guess what I'm hoping the Catholic Creator Conference does, I'm just hoping I can meet new people. And I'm hoping that I can. Yeah, good to know 5 is good for you. Yeah, it's definitely difficult to coordinate things on my channel, because I know there are some people who watch my stuff that live in Australia, so they're probably fast asleep right now. And then I know some people that like say that they watch my streams, but then it's like in secret, and I don't get like a notification that they're there. I just kind of have to assume after the fact. And I've also noticed that like it seems like I have a predominantly like shy introvert circle of people on my channel. Have I tried live streaming at night? Yes, I have. And I don't actually remember the results. I think a couple of times people would come. I've never been hugely successful at live streaming to begin with. I think the most I've ever had watching my stream at one time was 10 people. And then even then, those 10 people wouldn't all be talking. It would be more like 5 people, but it would say 10 people were watching. So, as far as playing a game, I don't know if I'd like that too much, if I'm being honest. I think I'd like the personal connection more. And plus, I just don't think I'm good enough at games to be able to do it in front of a live audience. Like, I think, like, the games that I'm good at require a certain level of focus. Like, if I'm playing Tears of the Kingdom, for example, and I'm in the midst of one of the battle sequences, I'm not going to be able to turn my attention to chat. And plus, even if I did know how to stream video games, I don't even know how to do that. I don't know how to make the camera display anything other than my face. So I generally just think that generally speaking, I'm the type of person that I think out loud, like all the time. I'm the type of person that just cannot shut up when something is on my mind. Like, I play a new video game, a review comes out as soon as it can. It's like sometimes I'll even butcher my own upload schedule just because I'll be like, I gotta talk about this game. This game just came out. I don't care if I just uploaded yesterday. I don't care if I uploaded 3 hours ago. I gotta talk about this. Like, I'm not good at journaling. I'm not good at I'm just generally not good at documenting my thoughts in a way that's not talking. How about that? All right, let's see what you got to say. Try playing a game at night. Live stream a casual game. Green screen. So, for one, I don't have a green screen. I do have a capture card. I'm just not sure how to do it live. That would be the thing I'd have to figure out. Epic Games. Good one, Jevil. I haven't played Fortnite or Fall Guys in quite a few years. Those were very much niche interest games. But glad you could make it, Jevil. For once, you showed up at a good time because I just started, um, and I think you'll be happy to know that I just beat Tomodachi Life, got a review out, and I'm currently on Chapter 2 of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Now, to be fair, the full game isn't out yet. It's just a demo. But boy, does it not feel like a demo. It feels like it's just never ending. Like, the world map is like half the size of Breath of the Wilds. And I'm like, this is only Chapter 2? How much more does the game have? Almost done with the collectible on Nintendo for the Super Mario Galaxy movie. Are you talking about the patch that they added to Super Mario Galaxy 2? Because I think that's kind of cool that they added new story content to Nintendo Today app. What is? Okay, I'm out of the loop. You got to fill me in here, Jevil. What's going on with Nintendo Today? I did get a chance to read the new storybook content in Super Mario Galaxy 2. I hardly understood a word of it, but at the very least, I liked the music that was playing. And from what I could tell, it's just a simple, like, taking a song from Galaxy 1 and then like putting a violin over it, but it still sounded beautiful. You're not a tech savvy guy, probably best to do some research. Ooh, I'm not a hands-on learner. It is really hard for me to learn new things. It took me forever to get my current editing software. And even then, it's still Movavi 2022 edition in 2026. Because I take a long time to adapt to things. I typically, like, I get into a routine. Oh, heck no. No way am I asking AI. I want to talk to real people. During the Super Mario Galaxy movie launch on Nintendo today, they allow you to collect digital cards lately. What do you mean by digital cards? Like trading cards or like pictures of the characters? Because I, I like collecting those stamps in on the Switch Online app. Display digital cards. Okay, maybe I'll look into that. AI is not my best friend because I have this notepad file on my computer. I actually have a lot of notepad files that just have like various classifications for the games I've reviewed. Like, how many games have I reviewed where you get to swim underwater? How many games have I reviewed that have snow? And so one of them is how many games have I reviewed that run at 60 frames per second? And there was an AI summary when I looked up, does Tomodachi Life Live in the Dream run at 60? And it said it does on the Switch too, but it doesn't. That's actually false. So I don't trust AI after that. In fact, I don't really trust AI at all, unless if it's for computer opponents when I'm playing a video game, or the text to speech voice acting in Tomodachi Life. It's hard to explain why I don't like AI. It's probably a ridiculous hatred at this point. But I think in general, I just don't like the idea of not talking to a human being. Like when I'm on the phone, it is so annoying to just hear robotic voices when I'm just trying to ask a simple question. So if life gets to the point where they're starting to replace real people with AI, I'm going to be thoroughly mad. What do I think Daisy's relation with Peach is? So there was actually a strategy guide for, I think it was Mario Party 5, that said that Peach and Daisy were cousins. But I don't think Nintendo ever actually said that. I think they might be related. I mean, they were paired up together in Mario Kart Double Dash. Probably because they didn't have Rosalina at the time, so Peach needed someone to pair up with her. Double Dash went crazy trying to make those pairs work. Like, I remember they invented a whole character called Toadette, just so that Toad would have a partner. AI will definitely be more around us. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. But again, you guys know me by now. I'm an old fashioned guy. I'm the type of guy that, like, I tend to just stick with the old and reliable. I'm not one for innovation and doing the newest thing or the popular thing for that matter. You look at like the most popular games on the market right now, chances are I haven't even heard of most of them. Or if I have, I tried playing them for like 2 seconds and then got bored. And all of my friends will say, like, how the heck could you have gotten bored? Like, I'll give you an example. Stardew Valley actually had a free trial on the Switch a while ago. And I I tried it for about, I think it was 30 minutes. And I said, this game's too hard. And then I told my friends that, and they were like, Stardew Valley, you think is too hard? This is one of the easiest farming simulators out there. And so I said, well, guess I'm not good at farming simulators. AI is giving you great advice sometimes. I mean, I don't want to pretend AI is completely useless. But at the same time, I would prefer a real person. I like the human element of connections. And I think there's a reason why in the Bible, God God could have easily made a robot for Adam to communicate with, but he decided not only would he make another human, but he'd make the human a woman. So God decided, one, he had a sense of humor. Two, he really wanted to make sure that Adam had that human connection. Because then what was the very next thing that God said as soon as he created Eve? He said, be fruitful, meaning have sex, and multiply, meaning have babies. I don't think you can do that with AI, as far as I'm aware. So I am just, I'm just hoping that we won't get to a point where people are thinking that AI is superior to humanity. Because, there are such things as like AI girlfriends, probably AI boyfriends as well, but I'm a guy, so I don't pay attention to like what girls are interested in. But I know there's an encyclical that Pope Francis wrote shortly before he died that talks about like where it's okay to use AI, but in my opinion, just because something is okay doesn't mean that I have to like it. You know what is crazy? There's probably an AI voice taken from the stream. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. But I've also had people joke around with me that they said, "Paul, you're the type of guy that's so weird and crazy that AI could never replicate you." And I also really appreciate the fact that this stream has 3 likes and yet only 2 people have been talking. So I must have a secret admirer somewhere in there. I do hope whoever that third person was would at the very least say hi. If that's all you can say, like even AI could. Okay, that's what I was trying to get at the whole time. I just didn't know how to say it. One of the main reasons why I hate AI is that it takes over human creativity, and it actually made it really miserable to read the comments for a while. Because when you know what was taking place on my channel, I would get a lot of comments that seemed like they were AI generated. Like people would say like L and based and W and no wait, no, L is a criticism. So it would be like based and W and peak. And I'd be like, you're telling me that you agonized over the keyboard for hours trying to find the perfect word to say and you just pressed W, hit send? That doesn't strike me as something a real human would do. If someone genuinely likes something that much, they would want to express their love in, I don't know, more of a tangible way that would make it seem like them. And so, even if those comments weren't made by AI, the fact is that that is what AI would do. And for that matter, I can't really respect it. In Japan, you can rent an AI girlfriend. Oh, goodness. The only AI girlfriend I'm okay with dating are the ones in Doki Doki Literature Club, and even then, that game is meant to be a satire. Detroit Become Human explores this idea. Detroit Become Human, that's a shooter game, isn't it? Because I am terrible at shooters. You should have seen me trying to do the balloon popping minigame and switch to Welcome Tour. It made me look like I had never picked up a controller before. Like, yeah, NPCs with AI, like computer opponents in Smash Brothers, I would say that's fine. But when you're like talking to AI, that's when I get annoyed. W is like a win. I guess, I keep saying this over and over again, is I feel like I was born in the wrong generation. I just don't get all this slang, like peak and W and base and all that nonsense. Like, I get that like people were using it to compliment me, but it feels lazy. Like it doesn't feel like it's from a place of genuine care and genuine connection. Like I feel like the best way I could describe it, and boy did I get flack in my comment section when I actually had a discussion with someone about this. I said if you were meeting a celebrity at Comic-Con, you wouldn't just go up to that celebrity and say W and then leave the line. You would want to like ask a personalized question and say like, "Hey, I grew up with your games and this game that you worked on was my favorite." You'd want to make it personal, and I just didn't get a lot of that during that period. It's a choice-based game, and in that game there's robot humans. Oh, dear me. Dear me. People have joked around that I'm a robot because I always follow the rules. So they say like you have no sense of questioning if something is logical or not. You just go for it. And my response to that is I do question it. I just usually don't end up coming to a reason why following the rules is a bad idea. There's some AI. So we are superior. It is scary to think about because there's a certain joy to using stuff that is limited to make great results. It was Nintendo's philosophy for a lot of their early years in the gaming market was they'd take stuff like the Game & Watch, which couldn't even display character animation, and the Game Boy and the Virtual, well, maybe the Virtual Boy is not a good example, but the Game Boy could only display in two colors. And yet, the Game Boy was a record-selling phenomenon, and it more or less was like the birth of handheld gaming as we know it. And so, if you have a machine that's so powerful that it can generate a sentence with the click of a button, versus maybe, say, like a super introverted person who really struggles to articulate what's on his or her mind, but then it's the most genuine, heartfelt comment I've ever received. That's when I see the beauty in humanity because of the effort that it took. When I see something like Undertale, where like one person made most of the game and then had like one other person help with a few assets, it kind of makes me love Undertale a lot more than a lot of like these games that are made by these humongous companies. Even AI character related story element like in Zero, I don't want to spoil too much of Zero Escape on these streams just because I know someone who hasn't even beaten 999 yet. But I do think that Zero Escape, when it does talk about AI, I do think it uses it effectively. But I always took it as it was that game's universe and not something that would actually happen. They don't get tired, have pin perfect aim. See, that's the thing. That's the type of mentality that I've heard people call the Mary Sue approach. Now, for those of you that don't know, the Mary Sue is a nickname that you give usually to female characters, but it can be males as well, who just happen to have like the greatest skill set ever with no amount of training or flaws. So you get someone like Superman. He's like the definition of a Mary Sue. He's invincible. He has like no weaknesses, and it doesn't. I mean, I'm not much of a fan of the comics, so I haven't read his backstory, but from what I can tell, he was just naturally gifted. Or someone like Rey from Star Wars. That became a popular, like, you type in Mary Sue, she was the first thing that would come up. Rey just learned how to do the Force by sheer coincidence, and the very first time she picked up a lightsaber, she dominated the battle. If you remember the first time Luke got into a lightsaber battle, he was absolutely destroyed by Darth Vader. And so that's another reason why I think humanity is superior, is because humanity actually has to work, they have to struggle, they have to put in effort. And that's why when you see like games that heavily rely on AI that, like, I don't know, you could have made in an afternoon by typing in a few sentences, you lose the respect that I would get from, like, say, like, I've been getting a lot of, "Ooh, let's see what you gotta say about Superman." I did know that he had a kryptonite weakness, but, like, how many people are gonna carry around kryptonite? And as far as I'm aware, it never actually killed him. It just made him, like, get tired or something like that. He had to focus on his super. Okay, that's nice that he had to do some learning. But, like, there's a reason why there was a debate when, Force Awakens first came out where girls were asked, like, "Who do you relate to more, Rey or Luke?" And they would all say Luke, because 'cause they'd say, "The only thing that Rey has in common with us is her sex organs." Like, apart from that, Luke is a more relatable character because he started out as just an average Joe, and he worked his way up to becoming a Jedi, and even then, he had flaws, he was hot-headed, he could be a bit cocky at times, and he even was lying to Jabba at times. But Luke learned from his mistakes and got better. Whereas I don't think Rey ever really made a major mistake in the Star Wars movies. Now, I wasn't the one that came up with this idea of Rey being a Mary Sue. In fact, I don't even really care because I just had so much fun watching Force Awakens and the lightsaber duel that I didn't really notice that, yeah, she was kind of a natural, but like hearing when girls turned against a female protagonist because she had it too easy. She didn't have to work for it. She didn't have to go through the human experience of getting better. That's when I started to think, like, yeah, AI is kind of comparable to that. But I've also noticed that I've been getting a lot of emails from developers lately. In fact, I won't say who, but I do have a developer that I'll be doing a call with next week. Hopefully, we'll discuss a new game. And I guess like it's beautiful to see these small independent game developers with like maybe 3 people on their team make something so wonderful. And sometimes like the weakness in these indie games is actually what makes it good. Like look at Undertale for example. Like Undertale's not a graphical showstopper by any means. In fact, it was probably made on the laziest game engine you could imagine. But Toby worked within those limitations to make something spectacular. And I don't know, that's what I'm hoping for. In the Batman versus Superman, he dies by it. In the movie, because I watched the movie and he definitely did not die by kryptonite. It just made him weak. Doomsday stabs him in the heart with it. Wait, wait, are we talking about the Batman versus Superman movie? Because I think I do remember that, now that you mention it, when you said stabbed in the heart. Okay. Oh, Jevel, Life is Strange is very, very, very popular with lesbians for a reason. And that's because Life is Strange has a reputation for basically being paradise for the lesbians and the gay people, especially the lesbians, because like there's only ever been one Life is Strange game with a male protagonist, and even then, he was bisexual, so you could date another guy, and all the other protagonists were girls, and their primary love interests were always other girls. And if you took either the platonic route or tried to date a guy, it would feel very forced, and I think that was deliberate because I've played every Life is Strange game to date except for Before the Storm and Reunion because it hasn't come out on a Nintendo system yet. And trying to do the aromantic route, ooh, that's rough. They mocked Christ in the second game. You know, that's interesting that you say that because I made a video called Life is Strange 2 is the most Catholic game I've ever played. Now, I'm not saying it's a perfect representation of Catholicism, but what I really like about it is that your Catholicism is like a strategy guide to getting the best ending. And then I also took into account the contrast between the faith of Elsbeth, I think her name is, the woman who owns the parish, versus the faith of Claire and Stephen. And Sean points out this idea of real faith versus faith for the sake of monetary gain. So I think they were using Daniel to like take advantage of him. And Sean was pointing out like that is not how a real follower of Christ should be acting. They said the kid was in the cult when the church took the little boy with powers in. Yeah, like I was saying, it's contrast. It's the fake Christians, the ones who want to take advantage of a kid with powers, versus Claire and Stephen, the grandparents, where they were like, yeah, we believe in Jesus, and we are not going to endanger a girl's life. because we believe that God will just heal her, which, yeah, yes, obviously God can do anything, but that doesn't mean he will. He might choose to allow people to go through suffering. And so I also think it makes sense that Sean would call that church a cult, because honestly, I would say the same thing. Like, it's clearly not a Catholic church, because you see the cross that Daniel levitates is an empty cross, doesn't have Jesus on it. And I would say that some Protestant views are borderline cultish. So, Life is Strange 2 is definitely not the kind of game that I would recommend for anyone, or sorry, everyone. It certainly has its fair share of problematic moments. Like, Sean's not exactly the best Christian in the world. Like, he smokes. It's implied that he might not be the most sexually pure person in the world. But at the same time, like, if you take the moral route, it really does feel like the Catholic journey of going beyond your faults and realizing that even if Jesus makes things harder, it's still worth it in the end, because you feel this sense of satisfaction that you did everything in your power to help people. And that was something I was really proud of. If you watched I think it was either my review or my best games of 2023 video, my very first playthrough of Life is Strange 2 was completely blind. Like, all I knew about it was there was a car crash at one point, and I knew that, like, there was a boy with powers. I think that was it. And going into it knowing basically nothing, just making choices based on just sheer impulse and saying, like, what would the church teach in this moment? I not only got what, in my opinion, is the best ending, but I didn't let a single person die unless if it was a mandatory death. So, because you know how in Life is Strange, after you beat each chapter, it'll say, like, this many percentage of you did this, and then this many did that. In every single choice where it said this person died by this many people and this many people saved him, I was able to save every single person. And that's why I say it's the most Catholic game I've ever played, because genuinely speaking, I thought about morality and I thought about how God gave us reasoning as opposed to just emotions, and how using a combination of reason and faith allowed me to spare every single person's life. And to be honest, looking back at that game, there's really only one decision that I regret, which I won't say, just in case that makes you guys sad. But it was one of those spur of the moment, like, you only had a couple of seconds to make up your mind because you didn't know that it was coming kind of decisions, which I also feel like is part of the Catholic experience. That's why we say that there's a difference between venial and mortal sins. Venial sins have to be a serious sin, full consent, and full knowledge. And if you're thrust into something and have like seconds to make a decision, sometimes you are going to make a mistake. And sometimes you're not going to want to sin, but you end up sinning by accident. In which case, I guess that would be more of a transgression than a sin. I've heard of the term mega church. I just didn't know that all of them were cults. I think the one in Life is Strange definitely is. But again, Sean himself, when he's talking to Elsbeth, or Lisbeth, that's her name. I'm thinking Elsbeth because that's the name of the person who plays Mist in Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. Lisbeth, when he's talking to her, sometimes he will quote Bible verses to talk about how her hypocrisy is ridiculous. And then he would even like point out, like, he'll say, look at my grandparents. Here is how they display their faith, which is actual faith, versus you, where you are abusing the faith. So you could say that it's also a commentary on like non-practicing Catholics. How, like, back in the day, there were corrupt Catholics that would say things like, hey, if you pay us enough money, we'll give you a plenary indulgence, which is not how it works. But you'd be surprised how many people would fall for that, and then they'd blame the Catholic Church and say that the Catholic Church isn't the true religion. And generally speaking, I just can't get behind that thought process of God made me suffer in the past, so therefore God doesn't exist. Or I was bullied in the Catholic Church, so therefore I'm not Catholic. It's like, okay, that's like saying it rained on you, so you don't believe in water. Like, whatever. Actually, I'm going to write that down. That's a pretty cool quote. Whoa, sorry guys, I have this perched on my couch. Yeah, that's a good quote. Replace pinned message. Yes, absolutely. So yes, that's what I'm going to do. The next time I'm talking to a Protestant or an atheist is to say there are certain things in this world that are intrinsically true, whether you want to believe it or not. And so again, you might not like getting rained on, but you still believe in water. You may not like aging, but you still believe in the process of time. So are you going to not believe in Catholicism because there were certain people in the Catholic Church that abused the faith? I don't know. Seems like shaky logic to me. You've seen a lot of lesbian relationships in Grey's Anatomy. Uh, oh, yeah, they did have that in Rise of Skywalker. I completely forgot about it because it was so in the background. But at least it wasn't like prominent honestly, the romance in Star Wars is, for the most part, I would say pretty weak in general. Like in, I think it was A New Hope, they actually had Luke and Leia kiss each other, only to later say, psych, they're actually siblings. So I think if you're going into Star Wars looking for romance, even heterosexual romance is just very cheesy, very, very corny stuff. But then again, I'm not much of a fan of romance in media in general. I'm trying to think if there's an example of where I did approve of romance in like some kind of media. I think it was handled all right in Xenoblade Chronicles 3. At the very least, that game, which is probably the second most Catholic game I've ever played, they pointed out what romance was supposed to be, which is a union between a man and a woman, which produces children. And they're telling these 10-year-olds that they've been brainwashed into a self-serving mindset as opposed to a self-giving mindset. So you could argue, like, yes, it is weird that you have a couple of 10-year-olds falling for each other. But again, in media, sometimes they use these scenarios as storytelling devices, not as an absolute. Are we to believe that Jesus is actually a lion just because he's represented by Aslan in Narnia? No. Are we supposed to believe that Jesus was tied up and his beard was cut off because that's what happened to Aslan? No. It's meant to be a message. That's why it's called an allegory. So in the same way, I don't think Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is advocating for 10-year-olds to be falling in love with each other. What it is advocating for is the Catholic belief that marriage is between a man and a woman, and the end goal, I literally just lost a viewer upon saying that. Gotta love it. And the end goal is children. Now, I get it. I get it. I get it. Some people can't have children, but you gotta at least try in the Catholic tradition. When can we ever talk about the Zero Escape spoiler? I would have to have a whole stream dedicated to that, Jevil, because I really just want to make sure that no one has that experience ruined for them. But here's the thing, I'd have to know what to name it so that even if a person's like, oh, what the heck is Zero Escape? and then I end up like ruining the series for them. Like, how would I make them realize that you're not supposed to know hardly anything? Would I say, like, don't watch this if you're into Zero Escape because we're going to spoil it? I don't know. I'm going to have to think about that. But boy, do I want to talk about Zero Escape spoilers because I am the world's biggest fan of Zero Time Dilemma. And yes, I can prove it. I have um I have a novelization of Zero Time Dilemma. I have at least like three or four walkthroughs of it. I have like a map of like the ultimate route on how to get through the game effectively. I've played it like 16 times. I've seen like three other people play it. I don't know of anyone else who adores Zero Time Dilemma as much as me. It came out half a decade. It came out a decade ago to be exact, because Zero Time Dilemma came out in 2016. So this, I think it's either June or July. It'll be exactly 10 years since we had the grand finale. Virtue's Last Reward came out in 2012, and 999, I'd like to say 2009 in Japan and 2010 here in the West. Actually, let me double check that. I think I have a document here that has like my favorite games on a per year basis. Okay, so in America, 999 came out in 2010. So yes, it's quite an old game. But yeah, I am very thankful that when I played Zero Escape, I didn't really have a whole lot of spoilers, thankfully. I know my brother kinda spoiled the twist of Virtue's Last Reward, but he worded it in such a way that I misunderstood him. And so when I got to the finale, I was like, that is nothing like what I was imagining. But but now, with the benefit of hindsight, I can say, oh, that's what he was referring to. Okay. I feel like if a game came out more than 5 years ago, we can talk about it. There's just one problem with that, Javel, and that's that I know at least one person in my audience who is still playing through 999 and hasn't finished it yet. And she never reveals if she's in stream or not. So if she happens to be watching this right now and you and I ruin some of the plot twists for her, I'm probably going to be even more mad than she is, because you really want to be as surprised as possible. So again, I'm probably going to have to make like a whole dedicated stream called "We Are Going to Spoil Zero Escape. Do not watch this if you haven't finished the series," assuming YouTube gives me enough room for that. But that's a good suggestion, Jevil. I will definitely think about it. Well, yes, you watched Pegasus stream it, but you watched the stream through and through. Like, you watched it as though you were playing it. That's what I mean. Like, if you're the person that doesn't want to play the game, at least like read about it sequentially. Don't like not play the game and immediately jump to the ending of Zero Time Dilemma. Like, go through the whole journey of like starting with 999 and getting the endings in order, and then go to Virtue's Last Reward and then Zero Time Dilemma, and just, they're not going to watch the stream. The odds is low. Low, but not impossible. That's my mentality. Believe me, Jevil, I feel your pain. I want to spoil it too, but I also want to show respect for the people that haven't played it yet. And until YouTube has some way of showing me who's all here, I don't want to take any chances. I don't actually know how to tell who's watching. It just says a number. But again, you'd be surprised how many times people will come into stream like out of nowhere. Like sometimes they'll come in right when I'm about to end, or they'll come like in like the weirdest moment where I'll be like in the process of saying something, and then they'll be like, "What does that mean out of context?" But one thing I can say is that if someone is watching this who hasn't played Zero Escape and wants an overview of the series, my novelization on Archive of Our Own might be a decent compromise because it was written somewhat with the idea of like newbies would read this and like somewhat be able to catch up. But at the same time, I don't recommend that unless you're desperate or just you don't want all the blood and guts in your face. Just make a private. I don't even know how to make a private stream. Like, how do you do that? But yeah, I do have a friend of mine who read my novelization of Zero Time Dilemma. And from what I could tell, she seemed to think that it was newbie friendly enough that she could follow along. She followed along so well that she even wanted to read out loud the new epilogue that I wrote. Because you and I both know that the way Zero Time Dilemma ends, a lot of people weren't too thrilled with that. So I said, okay, I'm going to add to that. And she really liked how it ended. And I went into making that novelization with the assumption that I didn't want to disrespect the creator. So I wanted to make it accurate to the source material as much as possible. And then the stuff I added wasn't just wishful thinking. It was like hinted at in an interview, or maybe he like said that that would make it into the game, but then it didn't for one reason or another. So I wanted to make it as close to like authorial intent as possible so that I even flat out said this. I said, if Kotaro Uchikoshi found a way to translate my novelization into English, I would hand it to him and say, this is what you probably would have made had you not gone through all of the nonsense that you went through during the development of Zero Time Dilemma. I don't think that'll ever happen because I think he's too busy on. Oh, I 100% agree. Except, again, I have played Zero Time Dilemma 16 times. So I think I could reasonably assume what was missing from that ending. And when I wrote my novelization, I made that assumption canon. So I think if people are unsatisfied by it, read my novelization because a lot of it was like based on like trying to decipher authorial intent. And I've read like so many interviews that Uchikoshi has done. Like I read interviews that he did even before Zero Time Dilemma came out. And then I like reread all the old games and like picked up these tiny little snippets of lore. Like there are some unanswered questions in Zero Time Dilemma that I said, okay, what would be the most reasonable answer for this to make sense based on what the director has said in interviews and what some of the secret files say? But again, I really have to shut up so that. Oh, I just realized something. Another thing you got to think about, Jebel, is that people could watch the replay to this. And if they do, because someone could come in and want to talk about something else. Like, I don't know, maybe someone could read the title of this live stream and be like, what? Paul, you're going to the Catholic Creator Conference? And then that person will dramatically change the subject. And people who wanted to watch this live stream in its entirety might not have wanted Zero Escape spoilers in there. They might have just wanted the bits where I talked about the Catholic Creator Conference. But again, seeing as I'm an even bigger fan of Zero Escape than you are, no one, absolutely no one wants to spoil that series as much as I do. But I have to show restraint for the sake of future fans. But that being said, one thing that I do resolve to do if Zero Escape ever comes to the Switch or Switch 2, I do plan on making reviews of the games. I highly doubt that'll happen at this point, but it's not unheard of. And here's why I think it's highly unlikely, but not impossible. Uchikoshi has said in a few interviews in recent years that he would like to see Zero Escape on the Switch, but that's like all he said on the matter. But here's why I think it's unlikely. Because in 100 Line, Last Defense Academy, Uchikoshi was heavily involved in that game's writing. And if you know anything about 100 Line Last Defense Academy, it's a game with 100 endings, and the creators are saying they want to make DLC for it and support it for like 10 years. Considering that Uchikoshi was heavily involved with that game's plot, it makes me think he's probably going to put most of his time into 100 Line. Maybe he'll even make 100 Line part of the same universe as Zero Escape, or maybe there will be a collab with it or something. That's the most likely scenario that I foresee. The only thing I could see being a genuine like possibility is if Spike Chunsoft releases it without Uchikoshi's input. I wouldn't use the word canon. Well, I guess like semi-canonical, because a lot of the stuff that I add in my novelization is stuff that was already hinted at in the secret files. It's just that a lot of it was phrased in a way that was a question mark. Like, for example, in Zero Time Dilemma, there's, again, I can't really say what it is, but they say, like, could it be that this is what was actually happening the whole time? And I was like, well, let's make it canon, and let's see if we can make this a genuine possibility. And there were times in Uchikoshi's interviews that I combed through where people would say like, "Oh, hey, it would have been cool if you had made this a reality." And then he said, "Yeah, I think I'd be happy if fans went ahead and made that canon." And that was what I did. Like there was one time where he um I think this part is safe to say at the very least. There was someone who shipped two characters. And Uchikoshi said, "Yeah, I think those characters would actually be a good couple." And so I went ahead and made it a reality because I heard straight from the author that he wished that that would have been the case. Then there was another article where it said, I um someone said something along the lines of like, what are some of these characters' real names? Because they had nicknames. Or no, I didn't end up doing that because it wasn't relevant. No, I did do that. Yes, I did. There was a character that never got a name reveal, and the creator said, "This is what I wish this character would have been named." And so I said, "Okay, since he said it, let's put it in the novelization." To be honest, I like Zero Time Dilemma a little more. Yeah, no, I agree. I thought that was great, especially because the character. No, I can't say that. That's right. Oh, the VLR OVA. Oh, how wonderfully misleading that was. I loved it so much. But no, I genuinely think that the character you're speaking of was handled very well in Virtue's Last Reward. And that was actually the reason why I wrote my novelization in the first place. It all started with the premise of I think I could handle this character better. And again, if I say the name of the novelization, it'll give away stuff. But I just said, yeah, Uchikoshi, I'm gonna try to make better writing than your team did. I don't know if I succeeded because I don't know how to read comments on Archive of Our Own, but I tried. And I can't think of anyone else who's tried. In fact, I'm gonna look that up. See if anyone else has even attempted it. Zero Time Dilemma novelization. Has it ever been done? Okay. So there's a wiki. The official 999 novelization? That is news to me. Oh, oh, I think it's just a joke. Oh, okay. So this thing. Wait, there is an official novelization? Huh. Okay. All right. There you go. There is an official novelization of 999 somewhere. But apparently it's only in Japanese, so you got to find a fan translation of it. On Twitch, you can check who's watching the stream. Maybe I should stream on Twitch. That would be a poll to ask my audience is, do you like Twitch streams? Now you're getting me thinking, Jevel. You've posed a couple of cool ideas. A zero escape spoiler stream, and figure out who's watching. Okay. Okay. You know what? You know what? I'm intrigued now. Okay. Now I'm thinking about that. I'm genuinely thinking about that. There's just one problem, and that's that I feel like these live streams kind of help promote the channel a little bit. Like, I know people who will watch more of my videos because they'll like the live streams, and vice versa. Like, more people will. Like, you'd be surprised how many people don't even know that I live stream. Because I'm pretty sure, like, if you were to go to my channel and look up, like, videos. Oh, you're quite welcome, Jebel. Yeah, no, you got some great ideas. Um, I can't promise I'll do any of them, but I'll definitely think about it. I will definitely, absolutely think about it. Because it never would have even crossed my mind to have a zero escape spoiler live stream. I wish I could do like a reading out of my novelization, but I'm afraid of how many people are going to cringe. Because, you know, us authors, we're our own worst critics. So I just hope people feel like it's the zero time dilemma that's as close as you can get to what Uchikoshi wanted, and not necessarily what I wanted. If you click XP, it shows me and Kevin. Where's XP? I'm not sure what you're talking about, Jebel. Let's see here. Participants? Oh, okay. It does say who's here. Interesting. Okay. So I can actually see. Oh, okay. So all that time that it said two people were here, it was okay. So now it just said Lodo just showed up. Okay, cool. Did I get all 100? Heck no. I think I got like 75. Hello Lodo. Glad you could make it. Jeva literally just taught me how to see who was in the stream, and I literally just saw that you joined, and then I got back into the chat and I was like, Lodo is here, and then I saw your comment. So really, really good timing on your part. But I did get the ending that I think most people consider canon, which I believe is simply called Steady Fundamental, which in my opinion, I think that's the canon ending. But the fact that there's even a debate goes to show you how crazy Uchikoshi's writing is. But welcome in, Lodo. Any good news on your end? I forgot to ask everyone else that. Does anyone else have any big news that they'd like to share? Obviously, Lodo, you saw the title of this live stream, so you know what my big news is I'm gonna be a very, very yes, you did help me see Jevil. Now, the next time I'm wondering who's all here, I can just check that option. Ooh, that is going to really help the next time I see that there are 8 people here and I'm wondering who's actually here. Oh, that's great. I just hope that doesn't scare people away because they're like, oh no, Paul can see me. Oh no, that's terrible. Again, they can always let me know. People are people know how to type, at least I would assume so. Maybe there are people that are only listening to this, but I would assume that 99% of people watching this are capable of typing. Unless if there's some kind of technology that I don't know about, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm the type of person that is very, very, very behind on everything. When is the conference? It is from May 28th to the 30th. It'll be at Franciscan University of Steubenville, and as the name implies, it is for any Catholic who's an adult and who uses social media to talk about the faith. So that could be YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, probably other social medias that I don't know about. And I was actually invited to it through one of these live streams. One of the people that's organizing the conference came into my live stream and he said, "Dude, we'd love to have you. Um, we'd love to have you at our conference." And I finally got the say so to do it. Will I be making videos? I will try to make videos. The thing is, I don't usually like being on my phone when I'm around other people. But I would imagine if I like asked people to be in pictures or like, I don't know, maybe I was having some alone time, I could probably make a video or two. I know one thing I do know for a fact is that they're trying to encourage as many people as possible to take advantage of the filming studio. So it's possible that I'll have access to an ability to make a professional looking video where I can say like, "Hey guys, I'm here live at Catholic Creator Conference at Franciscan University of Steubenville in a professional studio, so my voice can actually sound better than it usually does." But again, I generally, when I'm at these conferences, I focus on the now more than I do like the future. So, like, for example, when I was at Catholic Heart Work Camp, I typically didn't make vlogs except at like the beginning and the end of the days because I didn't want to take away from being able to just enjoy it in the moment. I did have a couple of videos of like, some of the best songs that I heard. Will I be talking about gaming? Good question. Depends on what's out by then, I guess. Like, for all I know, there could be a game that's shadow dropped. I know that there's a couple of games in May that I'm looking forward to. Shoot and Order just got a physical version, which came out today. I'm waiting for my rental to come because ain't no way I'm paying $50 for a game that the Danganronpa creator made. But rental, I feel like it could be fun. Oh, during the conference. I don't know. It depends on who I meet. Maybe there will be a person there that is making a game and has a YouTube channel, and I'll want to promote it. Maybe it'll just be a slideshow where I just say, like, this is where I had lunch the last time I was at Steubenville. And this right here is where the cheeseburger with the bubble was made. you know, I'm a nostalgia junkie. I'm sure you know that by now, Lodo. I'm the type of guy that, like, nostalgia is one of my best friends. So you're gonna see me you're probably gonna see a lot more of me saying, "Wait, are we talking about the same thing, Lodo? Because I think I'm misunderstanding you. Because you said you thought you would be talking about your channel and how. Oh, you mean would I be advertising my channel at the conference? So let me make a few things clear. First off, I'm not going to be a panelist or like a guest speaker or anything like that. I am going strictly as Paul. Like, I I highly doubt there will be that many people that even know who I am, and the people that do, it'll probably be like 3 to 5 people, I would imagine. It's meant to be a networking opportunity and not something like Comic-Con where like they get booths and they charge for autographs. I probably won't even get people asking for autographs if I'm being honest. Like, I'm sure maybe there will be like 1 or 2 people, but for the most part, it's going to be that everyone there has some kind of social media. So, like, for example, there might be someone else there that has a YouTube channel. So rather than that person geeking out and saying, "Oh my gosh, you have an amazing YouTube channel," the conversation instead will be more like, "Oh, you also have a YouTube channel? So do I. Let's talk about it." And then they could say, "Oh, you also have a gaming channel. I have a gaming channel. I talk about Fortnite. Oh, you talk about Zelda. Let's talk about Zelda." You still can't believe it was that simple. Yeah, yeah, you taught me something new today, Jevil, and that really means a lot to me because now I can know if my live streams are a waste of time or not. But whenever you and Lodo and Kevin are here, they're never a waste of time. Like, I would say you three are like probably my biggest supporters at this point when it comes to my live streams. And Hey Girl. And Hey Girl. Yeah, you four are probably the biggest supporters. Um, But yeah, if I make a video at the conference and then proceed to like upload a vlog, I'm gonna warn you right now, Lodo. Uh, there's gonna be a lot of reminiscing in there. In fact, I made a video called "My Experiences at the Steubenville Youth Conference," where I talked about what it was like as a teenager, and probably like half the video was just me like describing the scenery and describing like, oh, when I was there, um, this happened. And I spent more time talking about like these tiny little details than I did like an overview of what I got out of the experience. I'm just I'm the type of person that I remember details more than I remember the big picture. Like if you were to ask me, Paul, what were some of your favorite parts of your mission trips? I would have an easier time remembering the sensory details than I would what I got out of it. Ooh, you saw my Tomodachi review. Oh, good. I'm glad you liked seeing my Mies. Thank you so much. Yeah, I had to create Futaba completely from scratch because, like, I saw a really good one of her when I played Miitopia, but then I didn't know how to download from Miitopia. I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't even find save data for it on my Switch. So, yeah, I tried my best to pull up an image of Futaba online, which the images were, for some reason, they were all like super tiny. So I had to find one that was actually like legible. And then I was like, oh shoot, they don't have Futaba's hair, so I'm gonna have to get creative. But Joker, fun fact about Joker, it was actually I think it was one of my brothers decided to make a me of old Harry Potter, like what Harry would look like if he was in his 30s. And I just said, like, I want to make me's on my island that I made myself. So I just modified that old hairy me so that it looked more like Joker. And then get this, the day that I was capturing footage for the review was the day that the Wear and Wear supermarket had the Phantom Thief outfit that you see him wearing. Like, it was just the absolute perfect timing. I wish I would have captured that in the review, but I just wasn't thinking that that would happen because the outfits in the store are all random. They just appear when they want to. And I was thinking, oh, I'll just change my Mii's into appropriate clothes before I film because no biggie. But thankfully, I did capture the bit where Joker asked me who would he be in real life, and I said a phantom thief. Oh, I just loved that. And you'll also be glad to hear, Lodo, that for my end of year video, if Tomodachi Life ends up being in my top 10 games of 2026, which at this point is looking fairly likely, I actually captured additional footage um, so that it wouldn't just be me copying and pasting what was in the review. So you'll see a couple of additional cute things. All the lurkers and chats are exposed now. Yes, heck yeah. Oh, I can't stand it when lurkers don't at least somewhat reveal themselves. So now I don't have that problem anymore. Futoba, yes, she is from Persona 5. I think Splatoon and Persona 5 were in development around the same time because Persona 5 came out in 2016, but Splatoon came out in 2015. So it's possible they were either inspired by each other or just an insane coincidence. She looked really cute. That's good. I'm glad you liked my review. Yeah, no, I the most you made me cough. I was laughing so hard. The thing about me is that I have the artistic ability of a toddler drawing with a twig. Like, if you've seen my review of Century of Anticipation and the art style that that game has, that is about how good my artistic skills are. Like, at one point, the game asked if I wanted to design custom food, and I was like, "What? You want me to draw food?" And then they said, "Well, because it's your first time, we'll make a cake, so you just draw something on it." So literally, I just scribbled a cherry on top, and I just called it a cake because I cannot draw face paint, I cannot draw food or clothing. My island, pretty much all of it was kind of just hobbled together. Like some of the houses, I just clicked me choice. Well, I didn't know that I could do that at first. So I was just like, oh, shoot, I just have to hope that there's somewhere that has enough room for it. And almost all of the furniture that you see on the island is when the Mies would say, Paul, I think it would be cool if there was a pinwheel here. So I said, okay, just go for it. There are stamps that you can use that are really helpful. Yeah, that would have been nice to know when I was doing the review, but unfortunately, I'd be pretty bad at that too, because I wouldn't know how to put them at the right angle. Again, I wish I was exaggerating, but my artistic abilities are truly awful. There's a reason why I've never played Minecraft. There's a reason why um, a lot of the Mii's in that review were based on characters that I created. Because if you're trying to get me to imitate real people with the creator tools in that game, good luck. Although, I will say, since you guys are here, I will say the characters that I created and the characters that were based on real franchises. So that if you want to go back and look at it, again, not asking for engagement. If I ever ask for comments in my videos, I never ask for engagement. It's always because I genuinely want to talk to you guys. So just keep that in mind. But anyway, Futaba, Joker, Professor Layton, Princess Hilda, Phi, Sigma. Um, I know those 6 were from games that I like. Javel, you probably. Um, no Danganronpa characters? No, I didn't make any Danganronpa characters, but I did make a Danganronpa reference. It just didn't make it into the review. Um, there was a me that asked a question, and I answered the question with Monokuma. And so I had a couple of conversations where the me's would discuss Monokuma. But no, I don't know how to make Monokuma. I thought about it, but I would probably have had to dabble with the face paint, and I just don't have the artistic skills to do that. I was thinking of making Chiaki, but I guess like I wanted to focus on like first off, I didn't want to make any real people except for me. Technically, there are 3 me's in that review that are based on real people, but there's a catch to it. So first off, Daniel was basically me. Maria is based on a vision that I had of my older sister who was miscarried. And so I like tried to make a what if scenario where like what would it be like if I had an older sister and how would she act? So I was taking an educated guess based on like genetics and like the fact that my sister had black hair when she was born. So that's why I gave Maria black hair. And I figured, yeah, I think she was named Maria. So that would have made sense. So again, an educated guess based on someone I never met, but is technically in heaven. And then Catherine is based on what I imagine what I would be like if I was a girl. But like so the characters that I created were Sarah, Amber, Arya, Paige, Malsafar, Lucas, Selena, Claire, Daniel. Technically, I invented, but he's also like me at the same time. Astora. Did I say Astora already? At least 10 characters in there were my own creations. Like, I even invented the names. Like, Heshaya, there's another one. Heshaya, Estor, and Malsafar. I made up those names as well. What about Junko? Oh, goodness. That would have been so hard to make. But I don't think I'm not the biggest fan of Junko, if I'm being honest. Um, I feel like if I were to make Danganronpa characters, the ones that I'd want to make the most would be Chiaki would be definitely number one, and then Kyoko, and then probably either Shuichi or Kaede. Kaede, I feel like, is the boring option because she doesn't have a whole lot of distinct look to her. Like, you could look at her and think she was just any old blonde girl. Whereas Shuichi, like, if I found a good detective hat or like made his bangs so that it covered his eyes, like that I feel like would be very interesting. I almost made Rosalina using that logic, but I couldn't figure out how to customize her bangs good enough. I was also thinking of making Mario and Luigi. I don't even remember why I didn't make a lot of these. I think it was more so of just like, again, I wanted most of the characters to be characters that I created. And I wanted very few like inspired by things that I liked. Just because I wanted people to feel like the whole place was a metaphor of my brain, which I've always said is what my novels was it's just a giant metaphor of how my brain works. Like every single character is like a part of my brain at some point in my life. You didn't like Junko either, but she is a compelling character. Uh, I'll have to think about that a bit. Hey man, long-time viewer. Hope you've been well watching the stream and playing Omega Ruby. I have not played Omega Ruby, but welcome in, Stefan. Um, if you're a long-time viewer, I mean, I've had this channel since 2013, so I'd be very curious what was your first video if you can remember that. Um, I'm glad you like the touch about my late sister. I do have 5 other siblings who are all miscarried. I just don't remember having visions of any of them. But I did have a vision of what I would assume is my older sister, because I think there was at least one that came before me. But again, it's just a guess. Or maybe it wasn't my sister. Maybe it was Mary that just took the form of a girl named Maria. It was a long time ago that I had that vision. But I do think that does sound like a name my parents probably would have given one of their girls, because I think that's what they considered naming my actual sister. And then they said, like, no, we already have 2 siblings that have an M in it, so we're going to make her have a different first letter. Because I have 3 younger siblings, but then I have 6 miscarried siblings. So by the time we all get to heaven, there'll be 10 of us all together. Also, Stefan, what is Aeon Thor? I don't think I've ever heard of that. The Sonic 3DS video? Wait, you mean 3D Sonic the Hedgehog 2? Oh man. That did surprisingly well for a video that didn't have footage. It kind of amazes me that people still watch those crusty old reviews. Like nowadays, like I've now reviewed um 2 different versions of Sonic X Shadow Generations, the one on the Switch 1 and the one on the Switch 2. Both of them have footage, and both of them have me like zooming through the stages because I got so good at Sonic Generations. I got an S rank on every stage except one. You can probably guess which one that was, because in my review I flat out say I'm never playing this stage again if I can help it. But yeah, I also really like Sonic. I I've played most of the Sonic games, but I haven't beaten it. So, like, I played a little bit of Sonic and the Black Knight. I played a little bit of Sonic Adventure 2. Um, Played a little bit of Sonic Unleashed, but I was just so bad at Sonic games back then that I just could not find it in me to complete them. It's an emulation device. Oh, okay. Oh. Oh, so you're playing. Oh, okay. Interesting. So the funny thing about me is that I get a dopamine rush out of consistency, which I know is weird for some people. But here's the thing. I really like this idea that I would I really like the idea that I would just do the same thing over and over again. So this idea of like waiting like 10 years for a game to come to official Nintendo hardware gives me a dopamine rush more than it would to just cheat and like emulate Twilight Princess. Cool shirt, Paul. Oh, thank you. Ocarina of Time, let's see. Where would I rank Ocarina of Time? It would be, let's see. So going from number 1 to bottom, Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, Twilight Princess, A Link Between Worlds, Majora's Mask, then probably Ocarina of Time. So definitely one of the lower ones, but it's a good enough game that I was considering buying Ocarina of Time Master Quest off of GameStop's website. They're charging $70 for it. I almost considered it. But I will say one thing that Ocarina of Time nails that I think even modern Zelda games could learn for is atmosphere. Like when that rooster crows, there's just nothing else like it. You'd say your favorite Sonic game is Sonic 3 and Knuckles. I think I would probably have to agree with you. Although you catch me on a good day and you'll see me loving Sonic X Shadow Generations even more. I think the reason I slightly prefer Sonic 3 and Knuckles is because it doesn't have any frustrating stages. Whereas, like, I'll just say it since new people have showed up. Planet Wisp, I cannot stand that level. Whereas Sonic 3 and Knuckles, there's not really any level that I hate. If that's the case, I bet the third. Are you kidding me? I know you're being sarcastic because you know me too well, but I gave the biggest sigh of indifference when Fire Red and Leaf Green were released on the Switch because they literally didn't change a thing about them. You're new to the channel, I have reviewed Sonic Mania. Check out my review of Sonic Mania Plus. I've never played Sonic Adventure. Man, I would like to, but I heard that the GameCube version was terrible, so might be a while before I get around to that. I can technically play GameCube games and get footage of them. It's just that the disc has to be in really, really good condition. And then I have to leave my GameCube on overnight because it's so old that it can hardly read the discs to begin with. But yes, let's see what Sonic games I've reviewed. Sonic Mania, I've reviewed 3 different versions of Sonic Generations, although I don't recommend you watch the 3DS one because it doesn't have footage. Sonic 3 and Knuckles, Sonic Mega Collection, both versions of Sonic Origins, the Sonic 3 movie DLC for Sonic X Shadow Generations. I did a standalone review of that. What am I missing? Sonic Forces. I reviewed that. Both versions of Sonic Racing Cross Worlds for Switch 1 and 2. Love that game. Loved it even more than Mario Kart World, actually. I think that's it for now, but I would consider myself quite the Sonic fan, even if I'm not good at most of the games. Michael Jackson soundtrack. I'm going to have to agree to disagree on that one, because I personally prefer the prototype music. When I first played Sonic and Knuckles Collection on the PC, I didn't even know about the Michael Jackson music because I never had a Genesis, so how would I have known? So when I went over to my friend's house who actually had Sonic 3 on the Genesis, I was like, "What the heck is this awful music?" When he got to Carnival Night Zone, he's like, "What are you talking about? This is the normal music." And I said, "No, it isn't. This is the music that I heard." And then he said, "Whoa, that is totally different." So when Sonic Origins came out, I was really happy that they remixed the prototype music from Sonic and Knuckles collection so that I could get a relic of that old PC gem. I actually am thinking of making a standalone video of Ice Cap Zone because in my video called In Defense of Sonic 3 Sonic Origins' music changes, I mentioned that Ice Cap Zone, if you like get rid of all the repetitiveness, it's literally like a 13-second song that Michael Jackson just really dragged out. Like It would be cool if it was longer, is what I'm trying to say. Did I enjoy the Sonic movies? I still haven't even seen them, if I'm being honest. I would like to. Gamefly just hasn't let me rent them because I I'm a bit of a skeptic, so I would prefer to rent them as opposed to buying them. But I have heard that they're good, and I would definitely like to. I just gotta wait for the right opportunity. Sonic Frontiers is severely underrated. Yeah, I tried playing Sonic Frontiers, but I kept getting lost. And then, like, on the Switch, it did not run very well. But that was also before they added in all the free updates. So if they ever, if that Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition rumor is true, I will definitely rent it at the very least. Is the Zelda movie day one for you? Hopefully. I typically I typically only watch movies if I'm with my sister. I don't know, I just find it a fun pastime of ours. I've even gone on record saying that if I ever get a girlfriend, I will insist that we do not watch movies on our dates because I'll be like, "No, no, no. That is my thing with my sister. Don't go trying to take away my sibling pastimes." But I definitely plan on seeing it pretty close to day one, especially if it takes inspiration from Tears of the Kingdom, which it's looking like it does. Don't spoil any rumors. I try to go into these movies knowing as little as possible, which is why I was really, really, really annoyed when Nintendo spoiled pretty much everything of the Mario Galaxy movie. But the stuff that I was surprised by, I was very pleasantly surprised by them. Your wife and I make it a habit to watch a film once every weekend. Very nice. Glad to hear that. Yeah, I don't even have a girlfriend at this point, but I probably never will. I know people always say like, "Oh, Paul, you're such a ladies' man and you'd be popular with all the girls," but it's like, yeah, in theory, but have you thought about the practical application of it? And most people don't. There was one video I made where someone was asking me relationship advice, and she was talking about like all the feelings involved with it. Like, "Oh, I can feel that we have such good chemistry and I can see us being a thing long term." And I'll say, "You do realize hormones don't pay the bills, right?" And then she's like, "Oh, shoot. That's right. I do need to think about the grounded, realistic perspective of relationships." Like, I got to think about, like, okay, is she going to want to waste a bunch of money on a pointless wedding? Not that the wedding is pointless. Personality stuff. Not all girls love that. There are some girls that cannot stand me because I'm into personality stuff. They'll say, like, I put them into boxes, and they'll also say that I like over stereotype. And then like they'll say they like talking about personality stuff, but then when it's inconvenient, they'll say like, "No, no, no, that's just putting people into boxes." So I'm like, "Make up your mind, girl. Are you into typology or not?" So I think like yes, it is true that there's no such thing as a personality type that like you're gonna check every single category. Like my personality type, for example, really likes jobs where you're like a banker or a manager, and I can't stand that. Like I was doing an interview on Mongolian Mindset's channel, and he asked me what was my dream job. And I said, "I'd love to be a janitor." And the look on his face was as though he was dead tired because he looked like, who the heck would ever want a janitor to be a dream job? And the comments too were just like, okay, I can get that you want a step by step job, but a dream job? And again, they're not thinking about the practicality. I'm like, okay, let me tell you exactly why a janitor is the best job. Think about the practical application of it as opposed to just what makes me feel good. Because if I were to get a job that would make me feel good, it probably would be really hard to hold down that job. You thank God and know you're blessed every day for having a job where you're closed office and it's private and project based. That's nice. Well, it wouldn't be nice for me. I would I would hate having an office job. I try to get a lot of exercise in my life. I walk to and from the gym whenever I work out. And on the abductor machine, I got up to the highest difficulty, so my legs are a force to be reckoned with. It's the arms that I still got to work on a bit. But people have noticed that I have been getting stronger lately. You might have noticed that my whatever this part of the arm is called is quite a bit bigger than it used to be, mainly just because I've been lifting weights and doing shoulder presses and tricep presses, but not for the reasons that you'd think. The main reason I do all that is because I heard that your center of gravity changes when you get old. And my goals at the gym are just long term, like still standing upright, still being able to like pick myself up, being able to walk properly. Like, goodness knows my family has a history of being hunched over and in walkers. So I want to try to avoid all that. You're on a fitness journey? Very nice. I don't think I'll ever run races just because my grandpa used to be a baseball player. And all the pounding that he did on the pavement destroyed his knees. I used to jog quite a lot. Like, I would be able to jog an entire mile, but I've told myself I never want to do that again because I don't want to end up like my grandpa. And plus, when I was on one of my mission trips, I ran across a couple of boys in my youth group who were joggers on their track team, and they said, "Paul, walking gives you the same amount of exercise as jogging, so don't feel like you have to keep up with us." Because there was one time where they said, "Paul, we really want to do a morning jog." And I said, "Ooh, I'd like to jog with you guys." And I did. But I was only able to keep up with them for a little bit before I said, "Sorry, guys, I'm a bit too tired." And I don't remember if it was right after that or like during the moment, but at one point, I think it was during that same trip, they did say, like, "Yeah, walking gives you the same amount of exercise. So don't feel bad if you're not at our level," which was nice. And I'm not normally the type of person that likes to be in like guys only circles, which really surprised me because normally I would have said, like, "Oh, heck no. Heck no. I need some variety." But I don't know. I guess I trusted those guys enough where I didn't feel like they'd try to hurt me. Which is why I'm really glad that the Catholic Creators Conference coming up has no mandatory guys only talks. What was my favorite mission trip? Ooh, that's a tough one because my very first mission trip was the one that got me out of sexism and probably has the most like memorable moments. Like, if you were to see the back of the t-shirt that Esabelle made me, where it had like all the names of like my funny stories, that was the one that had the most. But as far as the mission trip that was the most net positive, I'd have to say the most recent one I went on, which was in 2018. That was the one where I got miraculously healed. Wait, did you hear that story? Because you said you're new here, but are you that new where you haven't heard the story? Because I would think that like you haven't heard it. You're in for one. All right, so I'm going to try to give the short version because my voice is getting a bit sore. So I might wrap it up in like 5 minutes. Oh, good. Glad you approve of it, Lodo. All right, so short version of it. Tuesday night was Eucharistic adoration, and the priest decided that he was going to do something a little different. He put two pieces of cloth, like the white cloth that the priests would use to like wipe down the vessels for Holy Communion. He put them underneath the monstrance. And then he read the gospel passage about the woman with hemorrhages and how all she did was touch Jesus' clothes to be healed. And so the priest said, "I invite each of you to truly believe that if that's Jesus in the Eucharist, in the Eucharist, then those pieces of cloth are his clothes. And so if you want to be healed by him, come and touch the clothes of Jesus just like that woman did." And she was told her faith was what healed her. So I went up to the cloth and I said, "Lord, I would love it if you could either get me back together with my current girlfriend," which didn't work because we broke up the day after the trip, "and if you could help me recognize faces better." That didn't work because I'm pretty sure since then I've introduced myself to my sister a couple of times. But what did happen was about maybe 3 seconds later, I suddenly felt this really warm trickling sensation go down my neck, and it went across my shoulders and down my back. And the best that I can describe it is like someone poured hot tea down my neck, but like normally you're like, "Ugh, that's so hot." It was like very, very pleasant, like the most wonderful warmth I've ever felt in my life. Because I'm not a summer person, I cannot stand the heat. But even though this was in the middle of July, it was so wonderful. And then the tea, like it like seeped into my skin, and it felt like there was a heating pad pressed on me. The next thing I knew, for the first time in over a decade, I was able to go from only being able to lift my arm up this high without pain to this high. I was able to bend over and touch my toes, having no pain. Because mind you, I had a really bad back for most of my life. And when I was a teenager, I went to a conference where I was praising and worshiping God so much. I was like cheering with this arm that it actually like hurt the shoulder, and it never recovered until that day on the mission trip. So then I told the priest that I was healed, and he said, "Paul, I'm so happy for you that I want to like include this in my homily so that I can talk about like the wonders of healing." And in the after I was done telling the whole audience of about 300 people that I had been healed, I said, "Guys, in case you're skeptics, I'm going to prove that I was healed by doing push ups on the stage." And so I said, "If I can do more than 5, that'll be like a record." Now, I'm pretty sure I had gotten to more than 5 in the past, but like what I meant to say was in recent memory, because the most I could do was maybe like 2 at that time. And I did 10. And that sound of applause that you heard, I've actually used that in a couple of my videos. So, like for example, in my one of my best games videos, I think it was best games of 2024. Like when you hear me saying like the real number, or no, 2023, when it says like the real number one, that clapping sound that you hear was the people clapping for me doing the push-ups, because someone took a video of it, and I found that video and then I edited it so that it didn't have too much personal information. And then I made a video called My Eucharistic Miraculous Experience, or something like that. And so when you watch the intro of my channel, you know how it has like flashes of like other videos I've done? The very last thing where you see me bowing down to everyone, that was the audience that I have my miraculous healing in front of. So there you go. Yes, it is amazing just believing that God could heal me of other things, and instead he healed my back and shoulders. So he didn't even heal what I asked him for, but he healed something else. But anyway, guys, I got to get going because 1, my voice is shot. 2, I'm almost out of water. 3, I got to eat dinner. But I thank each and every one of you for being here. You've all been amazing. Let me thank each of you by name. Thank you, Poe Tubby. Thank you, Lodo and Stefan, however you pronounce it. Kevin, the conservative, was here. Time Jester Jevel. I think that's it. Oh, wait. I can just see the participants here. Yeah, that thing's buggy too. But anyway, yes, I'm so glad you liked the story. Just remember, God does modern miracles. Thank you so much for showing up, you guys. You all have a wonderful day. And until the next time, remember to keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye.